Well, Big Mike, thank you for joining Ruction Nation. I've been following you on social media for some time now, and have really enjoyed your content between like the funny things, and then I think the thing that really caught my eye was you made a sea turtle, or you welded a sea turtle together, and I just thought that was one of the most badass pieces that I've seen a welder do. So,
Well, thank you for that. And yeah, that was all made out of horseshoes and some rusted sheet metal I had in my shop at the time.
dang, that's cool. Very impressive. But yeah, we were just chatting. We had a break in our schedule and finally was able to link up with you. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so just jumping in, Mike. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, kind of what you do, how long you've been doing it, and kind of just your progress to get where you're at today.
Well, it all kind of started about almost 12 years ago, actually, now to this pretty close to this day. I actually I never thought about being a welder ever in my entire life. But I used to be an irrigation repairman with my grandfather back when I was like 5 years old. And he kind of taught me tools, and my dad also taught me tools also, and also versatility in a way because he was a mechanic, he was a carpenter, pretty much did home repairs and did flipped houses every now and then, and but he mostly was a mechanic. And it wasn't until I was 18 years old and in the middle of my senior year, my grandfather encouraged me to go study something else besides irrigation. And then I just decided I turned on the TV, and the Tulsa Welding School commercial came on, and I took that as a sign for me to go into welding. So now, 12 years later, years of getting to experience a lot and get into understanding how welding works in general, and then all the opportunities I've had from being an iron worker and a millwright to working with wind turbines and solar panels, and then doing precast pieces, and then doing a travel welding job where I worked in a bunch of fabrication shops, and then even did shutdowns with another friend of mine.
Yeah, it sounds like you have quite the extensive experience in those 12 years. Um, what does the typical day look like for you nowadays, 12 years in?
Well, my career has actually changed recently. I've been a spokesman for Bokamal FR Clothing, and I was one of their product testers for the last 3 years. And they recently wanted to hire me full time to come work for them, handle the marketing team and advertisement also. And so they relocated me here to Texas, and I've been here for the last 2 months looking for a house and trying to get my shop up and running again so I can get back to my metal art and everything.
Hmm. So primarily,
But
you're doing artwork now with your welding.
I will be as soon as we get the house figured out and everything,
Yeah.
which hopefully we'll get that going here within this month.
What part of Texas are you in at the moment?
We're in Houston.
Oh, fun. Sweet.
Yep, definitely H Town.
Yeah.
Where was home before?
It was Southwest Kansas for pretty much my whole life.
Okay. Nice. So you said you were testing products from, I apologize, I missed the company's name.
Bokamal FR.
Okay, Bokamal. What kind of testing, or what does that look like, I guess, for someone that isn't familiar?
Well, what would happen is Bokamal would send me a new shirt, certain types of products that they wanted me to test out, give a review about it, and then shoot content while I was working in the clothing, whether it was pants or shirts or just any kinds of jackets that they had available. And then I would shoot content and then let them know what I thought about it. Yeah, let them know what could be better, and then I spit ideas at them to see what they could do to make things better for their company.
It's awesome.
Yep, it's definitely something I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a little out of the blue.
So you went into the your trade school to learn how to weld. Do you remember what your first job was?
My technically my first job was I worked for this millwright company called Western Steel Automation. When I had just got out of college back in 2014, and I was trying to look for a job, and I had filled out a bunch of resumes. Places weren't hiring me, and then this one place, Western Steel Automation. Basically, I walked up to the boss and told him I was looking for a job, and it ended up there was a guy who actually had just quit that same day that I had just showed up. So I kind of got lucky and got the job right away.
Oh, that's good timing. Do you remember what were you guys
Yeah, that's what
doing?
a lot of people keep telling me. We worked on grain elevators and grain storage facilities and grain mills, pretty much, where basically we had to deal with a lot of corn, milo, wheat, and feed yards that had to take care of their cows and everything. So y'all can enjoy beef and everything.
Yeah. What was the protocol? I mean, you're welding over grain, corn, what have you. Did you have to cover protect those areas, or was it when those silos are empty that you would come in?
It was a bit of both. There was if it was new construction, it wasn't too much of an issue. But if it was like a previous built facility and we had to have a full on protocol where where we had to figure out what we were working on, remove any dangers that were could be that could be explosive or flammable, and then we'd throw a fire blanket over whatever we couldn't get rid of, and then we'd have a fire watch for almost an hour just to make sure that some kindling, some embers didn't get lost left behind, and next thing we know, we wake up to an explosion or something.
Mm-hmm.
How common is that to have an explosion?
Not as common as it, not very common because the protocol that we follow nowadays it's lengthy, but it covers everybody's behind. So
Yeah.
luckily, I haven't had no explosions. There's been a few fires, but manageable.
Is that just from I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I know a little bit about just the corn
Uh,
silos and having to maintain them, but that's from dust explosions, correct? Or like the exposure to the toxic gases or the off gassing in those silos?
no, it's more of the grain dust. It's kind of like if you had a open fire going on, if you threw a sack of flour at it, it would cause an explosion because the grain dust in the flour basically comes combustible and it causes an explosion.
Sure. Yeah. It's pretty wild stuff.
And yep, it's certainly yeah. And I did that for about 5.5 years.
Nice. So kind of the mission of our podcast and what we're trying to do here is just promote, blue collar work in general to not only the younger audience, but an audience of any age that really doesn't know how many options there are within this industry, if you want to call it that. I mean, there's many different
Boy.
industries, but you still got me? Mike, can you hear me?
Kind of lost you there again.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, I'm just explaining that we're targeting people that don't know how many options there are within the blue collar world. We did have a welder from Canada on the show, and we kind of learned some of the, processes and rules they have up there to become a certified welder. Can you just kind of walk through that process for anyone listening that's interested in getting into the welding career path?
What I experienced and also what I was taught was while I was in college, they said you needed to have a certification to get to the door. So I went ahead and I did a structural test, D1 test, just for start off. But when I started getting into the field, it was a varying amount of things that could happen, because there was some spots where they didn't require a certified welder, and in Kansas it was they were a little more relaxed with that stuff, with just normal stuff. As long as the weld looked good, there was no need for a CWI or any of that stuff for most of the stuff. But when I progressed into being a traveling welder and also doing plant shutdowns, there were some times where I had to go into a testing lab of some kind and do whatever the AWS's test was, and I would follow it to the T and make sure it was good to go before it got bent, visualized, or X-rayed, depending on what the certain place was. But sometimes I had to do the same test for 4 different places, and it's just basically an insurance policy to cover their behinds.
Is there a general certification process in the U.S., or is it kind of site by site, kind of more what you were just describing?
It's more of a side by side, because of some of the things that you're welding on. Sometimes it's got a lot of vibration. It's going to get a lot of action. It's got a whole lot of pressure, and depending on what kind of test it is and what you're welding on, it's a competency test in a way to make sure you know what you're doing.
So certifications in the U.S. What was something that I wouldn't say was a struggle, but what was one thing while you were pursuing your full certification that was kind of a hold up or hard to do in your opinion?
It kind of had to do with um, I have to say, it'd be my stainless steel test that I had to do for a structural job,
Hmm.
because it was a precast building that was going to be put together, and the test was a 3/8 plate thick of stainless steel plate that had to be one test had to be in a 3G position, one had to be in a 4G position, and apparently there was some miscommunication about the test itself, because one of them said I had to have a backing strip, one said I didn't need one, and when I did the test, apparently they gave me the wrong one, and so they kind of had to fail it, even though the welds looked good. And this is also when the COVID lockdown was going on, so there was a problem with shipping and stuff was going on, and it was basically they the supply chain just kept getting caught up. So
It's kind of frustrating. A lot of unforeseens or uncontrollables during that time for you.
oh
Well,
yeah, it was just because a lot of our pieces were coming in from Denver, Colorado to Garden City, Kansas, and there was over 22,200 pieces that were going to be put together for this one
wow.
piece. And when they hired me on, I was supposed to be a backup welder, and basically the crew in front of me was supposed to tack the thing together, put on all the plates and stuff, and then move on to the next piece. And then I was supposed to come up behind them and weld up where it needed to be welded. And then, but when the supply chain kept getting delayed and caught up, they they basically didn't need me as a backup welder anymore. So I just ended up being a crane rigger, a forklift operator, and uh, basically a ground man for them. And it was still a good job just because it kept us busy. But there was a couple of times we had to hold up production and make a trip to Denver to help them catch up.
Hmm. How, how did that make you feel? I know talking with a lot of younger guys or people on our crews out here in Colorado, some people get caught up in titles. So they get frustrated when they have to do other tasks. How does that make you feel, or what advice would you give those individuals that just need to do what's best for the job or for the project?
Well, to me, I try to tell people, don't be a one trick pony and limit yourself to being just one thing, because there may be a time when a welder is not needed, but a rigger is, and there's sometimes when an operator is needed more than or being able or running a concrete crew, or knowing how to run rebar, or doing grout work even. But their main thing is keep you busy so you can make your hours, and so you're not getting shorted on work time, especially when a job's almost done and over with. You don't want to basically be cut loose because you refuse to do a certain job, and you may or may not have another job lined up for months.
Oh, that's great advice.
How much exposure do you get to kind of all those different things? Just being a welder in the field. Is there a lot of opportunity to experience and get exposed to all different aspects of a project?
Oh yeah, there's a lot to it. When I was a millwright, and everything, we had to be groundmen. We had to learn how to do excavation. We had to run rebar, and then we had to sometimes do concrete work, and we sometimes had to paint, which wasn't a fan of that, but it was a part of the job. And there was time we're welding pipe. There's time we're welding structural. There's times we're climbing 120 feet in the air just to inspect something, or make sure an elevator's got good bearings, got a good bushings, a gearbox, and a motor's running. Sometimes we're electricians even.
Mm-hmm.
That was just on my first. That was with my first job. But then when I started doing other things at the wind turbine and the solar companies that I dealt with, we were in charge of storing these parts and these pieces with crawler cranes, and maintaining the blades of the wind turbines, storing the solar panels so they weren't damaged while they're in our care before they need to be shipped off to wherever it's supposed to go. And then when I started doing plant shutdowns with my buddy, I had to be on stainless. I had to do in uncomfortable positions, so close to the ground, and had to get flexible with some of the spots I was welding. Sometimes I had to pick up a broom and sweep, and run a water hose to spray ground because there was molasses everywhere or something, or clean up the work area just to make it better for us. So I've had a variety of jobs, and it wasn't until pretty much until I joined this company called Flex Trade, where I had to get really I got exposed to a lot of things when it came to the welding industry itself. Because there was times I was on jobs where I was MIG welding, running pulse, running spray arc. Sometimes there was a job for TIG welding stainless, or TIG welding aluminum, and there was a few jobs where I had to run a robot and I had to learn how to properly program it and inspect it, make sure everything runs good, and then also know when I'm over my head, I need to call the programmer to come fix it, or fix whatever the problem is.
When you say robot, what do you mean by that? Run a robot?
There was a job I was on where um, it wasn't a cobot, but it was a brand that was programmed to repeatedly weld the same thing over and over again, and it was more consistent compared to the humans, because sometimes a welder gets worn out, he gets overheated, and slows down production. But a robot's a constant go, 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 consistent all the way through, unless something goes wrong, like the nozzle's dirty, or the the elbow got bent up somewhere or you ran the wrong program, and then just avoid jams and stuff and just inspect the welds after they're done and get them onto the production line so they can get to paint line and get assembled.
When you were working with that robot, how did that make you feel? Was it like, holy smokes, there's something that's more effective to me? Did you not like it, or did it give you
It
some
was a bit
ease?
it, it was a bit of a bittersweet thing because I understood the meaning behind it. It just kind of made the workday go by really slow because you run some of the programs I had to run. It would take 15 minutes for it to weld, and you had nothing to do, so you basically just played on your phone and waited for the robot to be done, and then you just checked it, threw it into a bin, and put the pieces back, put the next round of pieces in, and then hit a button.
Right.
I mean, you weren't burning up your arms, so that was a plus, and you weren't getting way too overheated compared to if you were running spray arc for 12 plus hours a day.
Sure, yeah, way better on
Mm,
the human body.
yeah, and less fatigue on your back, your arms, not burning up your shirt so much. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
So
mean, it has its place, but just sometimes I have a bittersweet relationship with robots.
sure.
yeah, makes it a little easier, but also little boring. It sounds like at times. Um,
It can be.
yeah. Can you just give us your top three, favorite things about working in the blue collar industry as a welder, and then give us the three negatives that people should just be aware of if they're going to go into something like this.
So, all right, the three positives. Welding is everywhere in one way or another, from the cars you drive to the roads you drive on to the bridges you build, and pretty much everything that is built in general has been affected by welding in one way or another. Versatility is a great thing to have because you may be on a job, you may not be able to get a job on the pipeline, but there are more jobs than just the pipeline. There's underwater welding, there's working on the oil rigs. Heck, there's even just manufacturing jobs out there or even plant shutdowns. It's and each one has a pro and con to it. Just and then I guess number three is the fact that you can go anywhere with welding, and you can, if you don't like where you're working, you can quit your job and then go somewhere else. And if you want to, you can actually go be a metal artist if you want to. Go do go do structural steel if that's your fancy, but just don't limit yourself into one little bubble. And for like the negative things, I'd have to say is you really need to take care of your body because you only got one, and you could, if you don't take care of it, then you could be paying for a lot of surgeries, dealing with burn effects or getting worn out, skin cancer, all that other stuff that comes with the unfortunate parts of this job. But and then if you and I guess number two, check your attitude, because if you have a rotten attitude on a job, you're going to be difficult to work with, and basically nobody's going to want to work with you, and your chances of finding a job are going to slowly dwindle away, and you're going to have to do a whole career change choice. And I'm speaking from experience with that as well. So, and I guess the third harshest thing that you have to deal with is sometimes you just need to check the ego and listen to some of the old hands out there. And they may mess with you every now and then, but that just means that they're trying to see if you're going to be a ride or die, or if you're going to be uh, a pansy and just leave or quit a job when they need you the most, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. We see it in our field as well. How Can you walk us through how you deal with those three negatives, I guess if you want to call it that? Number one, how do you take care of your body? And then how do you deal with, poor attitudes on site, or the big egos that are kind of toxic to a job site?
Well, first thing for your body is I may joke about drinking a lot of Red Bulls and Monsters and stuff. I mean, I do that, I do, but not. I actually have to drink. I drink a lot of water to keep my body hydrated. I try to do some pre-stretching before I start work, and then when I'm during break time, even I'll just try to stretch my back out a little bit. If I feel a little bit of pain or stress in my spinal cord, I'll just try to grab something up top and let my back stretch out a little bit. And or sometimes I just try to stretch a little more, become more limber in a way to be ready for it. Or just make sure to use the proper machines you got available, because if there's a crane available, use it. A forklift available, use it. And if you need an extra couple extra hands, then just call your coworkers and over and be like, "Hey, give me a hand real quick." And most of them will be more than happy to drop what they're doing and give you a hand, because they'd rather you slow their production time down than you risking an ambulance coming to pick you up because you did something stupid. Um, that's for at least the body, at least. For the rotten attitudes, to be honest, I actually used to have a very rotten attitude, and like I was part of the reason why I got fired from my first job, and it was I had to go through a lot of re-educating myself to stop, because my anger was making me hard to work with everybody else. And some of my foremans actually said that they were actually scared of me at some points. And, but when I started going to these recovery groups with that they had at my church, it kind of gave me a turnaround that made me actually finally relax and smile more. And I was more of a delight after that. And pretty much when it comes to anybody else who's got that ego, sometimes it's best to just let them rant in a way. But also, if it's becoming too much to deal with, then it's better for you to just pick up your tools and walk away before you do something that's going to get you both fired. And I've been on a few jobs where a guy's attitude got the best of him, and it cost him and another dude their jobs, and basically they were run off a job because of it. And pretty much there was one guy who tried to yell at me, and I almost got into a fight, but then I just walked away, and then I was like, "I'm done talking to you. Goodbye, dude. I'm done." And that's pretty much how I dealt with egos. And
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to what was that? I can't remember the third thing I said.
It was kind of a combined thing. It was what was the third one? It was attitude.
It was bad attitude and big egos.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess if the third thing I would have to say is limiting yourself, because so well, kind of like I said before, there's a time if depending on the time of the season, if you had the mindset of being a pipeline welder, but it's winter, it's going to be difficult to get a job during the winter time outside.
Did you work in the pipeline? Or working in the
Closest
pipeline?
thing I ever got to the pipeline was welding pipe for spouts for grain elevators, and a few plant shutdowns where I had to run a steam line or a molasses line.
Hmm.
At least that's my experience with pipeline welding.
Right. What is your favorite thing to weld?
It would have to be in general, it has to be my metal art, because it's a lot of fun to deal with, and it allows creativity, and allows me also to get out any anger or frustrations I'm dealing with.
Is the art just for yourself, or do you sell your art?
I used to sell it, but when I started traveling, it kind of made it difficult to do it. So whenever I was between jobs with the traveling job, I would go into my little shop that I had back at my house in Kansas, and was whatever was piquing my fancy with metal art, I went and did it just to occupy my mind while I was waiting for my next assignment. And then just one day, I just decided I wanted to make a sea turtle out of horseshoes, and I did it.
Yeah, that was a great idea. How long were you traveling for? Did,
About 3.5 years, and it took me a few good places that I got a chance to experience.
what was your favorite place?
Well, let's see. I did Tennessee because I was actually right in the middle of Nashville and Memphis. But unfortunately, the contract got cut short. So I only got a chance to check out Memphis. And by the time I was going to go to Nashville, they canceled the contract. So I was kind of thrown for that. But I also enjoyed a couple places I went. Yeah, I got to go to Canton, Ohio for a couple assignments, and that was in Columbus for my last assignment. And then I was in North Dakota for a bit, and then I was in Kentucky for about 4 months.
Nice. Could you see yourself living in any of those places?
I was almost interested in moving to Ohio or Tennessee, just because of the jobs that were available there, and some were offering me positions, just they weren't willing to pay for relocations and stuff.
Sure.
So that just kind of put a damper on things.
Right. So someone that's interested in travel welding, what is something that people don't really know about travel welding? Like what's the good, the bad, and the ugly of being a travel welder?
The good thing that happens is it's really good. It can be really good pay depending on the type of job you take on. Also, depending on your situation, if you're able to take a camper with you, and if the company lets you do that, because some places they'll either hook you up in apartments or they'll pay for hotels for you to stay at, or they give you a good size per diem and you can get an Airbnb if you want to, or save money by rooming with a few other guys and just split the cost in a way. It kind of depends on the company that you work for and what their policy is. Um, one of the a couple of the negative things that can happen is at any point the company can just say, we're canceling your contracts because things got slowed down, somebody else messed up, or somebody in your company has given you guys a bad rap, and basically they just decide you're done, pack up your stuff, you're done. And sometimes it's just out of your hands. And there was three contracts in a row where I got cut short, and it kind of messed with my finances because there was a long pause of waiting till the next job was available.
Is there a way, in your opinion, knowing what you know now, like something you can do to cushion yourself from those um, intervals of like income coming in? Does that make sense?
Yeah, what I used to tell new guys is that if there is talk of things slowing down, take take your paycheck, pay all your bills that you need to, and then set aside at least 20% or 10% of what you still have left over in a savings account of some kind where you can barely touch it, or and try your best not to touch it at all.
Right.
And then also look into maybe investing in some kinds of stocks or bonds if that's what you want to take a gamble on. Just don't waste it on going to casinos, the bar, or certain adult establishments.
Yeah, that'll steal your money pretty quick.
Yeah, it's the house always wins.
Yeah.
They're professionals at taking your money.
Yeah, casinos,
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a big?
but
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
but do also try to find some things out there that you can enjoy, that maybe certain tour sites that you don't get to experience that you could experience. Because when I was in Memphis, I actually went to go check out Elvis Presley's house, so that was a perk.
That's cool.
And I was going to go to Nashville and check out the Wax Museum of Country Artists and the Grand Ole Opry to kind of take it in, but I didn't get a chance to do that. And there was when I was in North Dakota on my way back, I stopped in Sioux Falls to check out their artwork displays that they had on Main Street,
Mhm.
and just got to check out some interesting artists out there and kind of get inspiration for future projects.
Yeah, it's a nice perk being able to see the country. I kind of want to go back real quick and talk a little more about the struggles you had early on in your career with your attitude, because I think it's very common, and Cody and I can both agree. I think a part of it is, being a young guy, being ambitious. You want your jobs to go well. Everyone's under so much pressure to hit deadlines and whatnot, and it takes some time to learn that, handling things in a angry or aggressive way is usually not the best option. Clear communication, working well with other team members goes a lot further than approaching things with anger and aggression. But kind of, you said that you were in a church group that kind of got you through that a little bit. What's some more advice that you would give people to kind of flip that attitude and get out of that path of having that attitude, that poor attitude and ego?
Well, if we're gonna rewind back to what caused my anger outbursts and stuff, was the foreman I had at the time. I had worked with him on about 10 jobs at that point, so I knew how he liked things. But he would talk to me like I was still a newbie and would stop me from doing my work and basically try to tell me something I already knew or I was already doing. And it used to drive me crazy because I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Can you get off my back for a little bit, for F's sakes? And then it just kept getting worse. And instead of checking my ego, basically, and keeping things professional, some people on the job sites, some of the owners of the companies, would be seeing me yet, would be hearing me yell or hollering, basically sounding like a Tasmanian devil in a way. And basically it was not looking good. So they end up just saying, Mike, you're too much of a risk for work, so you're done. So, and we were actually at the start of a new project at that time when I got fired, and I was already making plans to quit after the job was done, just because I was tired of it and getting tired of the same old repetitive crap over and over again, and hearing the foreman just yak about the same things over and over again. When after I think about it, it kind of, he meant well, just because he wanted to make sure we were covering our backs and everything. Just I didn't handle it properly, but It wasn't until it wasn't until I believe it was close to October when my second ex-wife and I at the time we were getting into this big argument about something. I can't even remember what it was about, but I ended up getting so angry and frustrated I put my fist through a wall. And at that point, once I did that, I realized that, oh my God, I've just hit my rock bottom now. Because I told myself I was never going to raise my fist at and destroy something or destroy somebody. And at that point I was scared and terrified, and eventually I there was some guys at my church at the time. They told me, "Hey Mike, why don't you come to our recovery group?" And I said, "I'm not an alcoholic or a drug addict or dealing with that stuff. So why are you inviting me?" And they said, "Well, we've all been in your shoes before, and this has helped us before, so why don't you come join us?" And plus it was after work hours, so I thought, okay, why not? So I started going and started started understanding a little bit more, and started hearing some of the men's testimonies with their progress. And then basically I kind of realized like I need to stop doing this before I do something that I'm going to regret or that's going to put me 6 feet under. Because if I get in a fight with the wrong person, it could be my life on line, or I could risk somebody else's life. And so that at that point, I decided it's time to stop and get my act together. And once I repented and started walking on the right path again, and started walking towards the light, a bunch of my coworkers, they started noticing it, and they're like, "Hey, Mike, yeah, I'd like to have you on my crew today." I'm like, "All right, cool, let's go." And we be getting a job done, and then there'd be like a change of plans or something. And that used to always irritate me, but then I'm like, "All right, let's go, guys. Come on, let's go, 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 go." And the foreman started noticing, and they're like, "Okay, who are you? What'd you do with Mike?" I'm like, I'm good. They're like, "Yeah, but no offense, but nobody liked working with you because they were afraid that you were going to kill them."
Hmm.
And that's like, "Well, I'm not going to ever,"
Yeah.
and we're good now.
So
And they're
what
like, "Okay, we'll keep it up." I'm like,
like I said, I think this is pretty, I mean, it's pretty common in the
Mhm.
industry. And I mean, I've thrown tools working in the garage and stuff too, you know, like something goes wrong and yeah, a temper can flare up pretty quick. What's one technique that you use when a situation arises and you feel that temper flaring, just to get it under control?
sometimes it's best to just walk away for a second and take a 10-second breather real quick. But if you got like somebody barking orders at you, just kind of like do this, uh huh, uh huh. And then as soon as they're done talking, they can walk away. And then you just like start calming yourself down and
You process
analyze
it.
what you need to take care of and just get back on it. Or sometimes you just need to say, "Hey, I'm trying to take care of something. Get off my back for a little bit."
Right. Yep.
Or there's some of those cases where you need to bring HR into it, which usually most welders don't want to go to HR because that's like playing with the snake at that point.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Don't make sense.
Yeah.
So, but it kind of depends on the situation and what works best for you. Or I guess in a way, it's also kind of depends on the type of team you work with.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And that's some really big stuff that you shared. And sounds like you're really comfortable with it. How long did it take you to like realize and start to kind of own your own stuff? Look at the man in the mirror, if you will.
It was pretty much after 2020. It was basically when the change started happening and started being better as a man. Because I just I went through my divorce and everything, and had to basically live by myself for a while. And I started working in my shop to work out the brain haze that I was dealing with at the time, and then taking out a bunch of anger out on a bunch of steel helps out a lot because
Mm-hmm.
you're uh, you're directing it into a more better form of stuff. And then once you after you're done banging a bunch of horseshoes or rods together, you start realizing, okay, I'm good now.
Hmm.
Yeah, having
Like
having
basically,
a having an
you
outlet
wear yourself out.
having an outlet outside of work is crazy important. If you're all work and then
Yeah,
you go home and you have zero outlet, it's could lead to disaster pretty quick.
I mean that's why a lot of influencers or metal mentors, they push this whole the work life balance thing these days because
What is
if
that?
you
I'm just kidding. I'm just work life balance. Sorry.
well, I mean your work life balance can be a bit of both because my work was my work, but when it came to my shop work, that was just for lively for an extra few bucks here and there that I could make, and also just work out any kind of itches in my brain that I was dealing with, like any kind of metal art that I wanted to do, or if a certain customer was wanting something made, you're basically taking their vision and then bringing it into life. And there was a few people that it worked out great, and there was sometimes where a few customers I was like, okay, I'm having a hard time understanding your brain right now,
Mm-hmm. Their vision.
and please help me understand you better.
Mhm. Yeah. No, this might be a little bit too personal, but do you remember or do you know why or where a lot of your anger stemmed from? Is it just not knowing how to process? Is it just
it,
getting caught up in
it,
in the thing?
it was more like I hated a constant repeat of the same thing over and over again. Like, you know how some people will repeat the same sentence over and over again, saying the same thing over and over again, and you're like, okay, I get it, shut up, you made your point, shut up,
Mm-hmm.
goddamn, shut up, I get it, god, shut it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that was the issue. And also was the fact that when the foreman would talk down to me in a way or remind me of what I was already taking care of, it's like, sir, I know what I'm doing. You've taught me this 4 or 5 times that we've done this same thing over and over again. So I don't need you to micromanage me and tell me what I'm doing when I'm already doing it. And
If you
then it was also like the change of plans at last minute, and it was and then issues I would bring from home to work and vice versa.
Mhm.
Just all of it kind of added up, and then there was the financial stress, the mental stress I was dealing with, and just a lot of it just kept bubbling up in a way, and then basically just kept exploding in a way.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean that's something every good manager should know. Like, we're all human on these projects, and everyone's got their personal stuff going on. They're trying to balance out with their work stuff, and you got to take it easy on guys every once in a while. And talking to any grown man like a toddler is just unacceptable, plain and
Yeah,
simple.
but once that job was done over with and I started working for other places, it was a different perspective change. And then after going to those recovery groups, it just made things better because now I had guys who were in the same boat as me at some point, and they were basically a kind of like a lifeguard in a way.
Hmm.
And they're like, whoa, hang on, man, calm down for a second. It's like, assess the situation real quick. What's going on? What are you about to do? Or is it going to be good for you, or is it going to be bad for you? Is it going to affect your guys in a good way or a bad way? If it's not, how can you handle this better? And so that's what happened most of the time.
How often work-related things? Obviously, life is life, and there are things that have a lot of like. There's a lot of heavy emotion around some things, but in a work scene or in a work-related thing, how often does it really matter to get that mad, or how often do you remember why you got mad? So,
The only time where getting mad was justified, in my opinion, is when it was a matter of stupidity
sure.
or a risky situation or somebody who's not, it's not clicking and they almost cause an accident and almost kill you in a way.
Mhm.
Because that's happened a few times for me. And there's been a few times where where I had to yell at them because they weren't listening or it wasn't clicking what I needed them to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. Any harm to a human, in my opinion, has justifiable. Like you can be angry. That's
Yeah.
it's a non-negotiable, and it's something that you can't change if you make a stupid decision because you're in your head for whatever reason. So I agree with you.
Yeah, there was actually one time where I actually yelled at the foreman because he's playing a dangerous game with a coworker of mine, and it was during when the heat waves were going on during July. This one guy, me and him were on a separate crew, and we were trying to get all these wind turbine parts ready for shipping, and we only had 3 days to do it. So what ended up happening was we had 6 crews going all over the place trying to get these tower parts ready to go. And this one kid, 22 years old or something at that time, and it was like 105 degrees, and he's kind of getting slumped over. He's kind of getting look like he's getting sick in a way, and he's showing the signs of heat exhaustion. So I'm like, "Hey, dude, how much water have you had today?" He's like, just one today." I was like, "Dude, it is 3 o'clock and you've only had one water."
Hmm.
And then I'm like, "Dude, you got heat exhaustion." So I call the foreman and I'm like, "Hey, I'm in this yard right now. I need you to come get him because he's got heat exhaustion and it's not looking good." And he's like, "Okay, give me some time. I'll go by and swing by and pick him up." About 30 minutes goes by and he has not come by yet or called or nothing, which I understand we were swamped. But at the same time, it's like, dude, this guy is getting pale and we need this taken care of now before an ambulance needs to be called and before we have to make a call to his family that he's in the hospital. And I'm trying to keep him awake and everything just because I knew it's what you needed to do. And like I call the foreman again. I'm like, "Where are you?" And he's like, "I'm like, I can't, I forgot. I'm coming by that direct way right now." I was like, but then he said, "Are you sure he's got heat exhaustion?" I was like, "You want to say that again?" I was like, "I am a welder who's had heat exhaustion 4 times in my career. I know the signs of heat exhaustion. Now come get him, or I will reach my hand in there and I will slap you.
Mhm.
Now get over here now."
Mm-hmm.
And then he finally shows up and he sees the situation and he's like, "Oh crap." And so he's like, "Oh yeah, he had exhaustion." I was like, "Uh-huh." I was like, "Now if you question me again, I will take you to the ground and I will beat you with my own fist.
Hmm.
Don't ever question me again."
Yeah, in regards to someone's life, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and I mean, of course I had to explain to the project managers and the HR why I threatened a foreman. And he's like, "Don't you think you could have handled it better?" It's like, I tried asking nicely
Mm-hmm.
and he questioned me. So
Yeah.
it kind of made my point to threaten him.
This is kind of leading into another topic I wanted to ask about, just kind of safety culture in general in your field. Um, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the safety culture um, in your field, just across the board?
With millwright and ironworking, it was kind of it was N8 because there was some times where we were in a bit of a time crunch, so we had to be quick and be efficient, and sometimes you forgot to latch on your fall protection on a couple spots, but you weren't really in danger. And for fabricating and doing shop work, it's very heavily encouraged because there's no real reason to skip steps to get where you need to be. And iron workers have kind of gotten a lot better at it, even if it is annoying. But it's better to have that yo-yo connected on something than you make one wrong step and then you're splattered everywhere.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's no beating around the bush. There's significant dangers in what you do, and just being aware of what can go wrong and how to best protect yourself is, the utmost importance. Should be on number one on everyone's list, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, and the main thing that a lot of places try to push all the time, especially during morning meetings and stuff. It's make sure you got your 10 toes and 10 fingers and all your body parts are in one piece by the time you leave.
Mm.
Because the one thing they hate doing is have to call your spouse or loved one and give them condolences that there was an accident and you're either in the hospital or you're dead.
Mhm.
Right.
Which luckily I haven't had to deal with anything like that. Thank God.
Mm. Yeah. No, it's a real reality, and it's unfortunate that people toy with it or don't look at it as serious as it is, So,
Yep. But I mean, it's gotten better over time because when you look how things were back in like the 60s and 70s, where you had guys climbing on the Twin Towers and we're just wearing coveralls and a cap. And
Mhm.
eventually that's changed into everybody's got to wear harnesses and proper gear, and then better FR clothing for the workers out there who are on the pipeline or just doing structural stuff. Because Lord knows FR clothing has been one of those hard things to deal with, and a lot of companies have opened up now and have changed the game up.
Mhm.
right. Do you have a most proud moment in your career thus
Most
far?
proud, I'd have to say it's darn, that's a tough one. I have to say it's this new job I'm on right now because it's something I never expected ever, but it's a very surprising blessing that been given.
That sounds like it. I mean, just in that little bit of safety talk, you could see it just pouring out of you how much you do care. So, what a cool what a cool opportunity and blessing, like you said, to be able to help people or help make a product that protects people. I think that's awesome.
Yep, and there's the fact that like all the other companies that are opening up right now, yeah, they're technically our competition, but I consider them more like friends in a way,
Right.
where we're kind of bouncing ideas off each other to make our products better, make their products better, and step up the game in a way so we can be better than the bigger name brands out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the industry is ever changing, right? The rules, the regulations, the wants, the big demand for fast schedules, fast paced stuff. So I think there's always going to
Well,
be something that some company can do.
yeah, I think if I remember correctly, they said that all safety rules and all regulations have been written in blood for a reason,
Mm.
because it took someone dying or it took somebody's life being on the line or a risk happening that either cost them their life, a body part, or cost the job itself, and having to live with the guilt of an accident that happened because of you, or because of because of a misstep, or because you you were working too fast and you didn't notice it.
Yeah.
Just switching topics here real quick. For anyone that's interested in becoming a welder, do they need to buy a bunch of tools, or are tools typically provided by the company you work for?
Most of the jobs I was on, most of the tools were provided in a way, but some places they were kind of they were cheapskates. So you sometimes had to get your own tools, and or some of them required you to buy your own tools, or or stuff like that. And if you have plans to go out on your own or start your own thing, start buying small, like get some hammers, get some grinders, go to Harbor Freight and get something that's affordable at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and start there. And then if you want to get into forging or your metal art, learn kind of buy what's necessary for your situation, and then buy products as time goes on that can save you time or save you money, that can help you build your brand in a way, if that's what you want to do. But also it's good to have some tools in your house, so if you need to fix something.
Yeah. What what would be in the wide variety of options that you've talked about with welding, in your opinion, what would be the best one for someone to go into if they know in their heart that they want to be a welder? Where should they go and how should they start?
What I try telling young bucks out there is look at your area that you're living in, and see what's available. There's always going to be a fabrication shop that's going to be available, and it's not going to be the best pay, but it's going to be good for entry level stuff. But if you have the connections to grow, get into the bigger industry, then you can look into a structural job, the pipeline, doing shutdowns, maintenance work. I tell people if they want to do maintenance work, it's good because you're going to have to be versatile for to keep the plant running and stuff. So there's going to be times where you're going to have to be an engineer. There's times you're going to have to be a welder. Times you're going to have to be get creative with it and think of a better way to make things run, and then make things better for the factory itself in some way or form.
Right. So if I guess we'll just use me for an example. Tomorrow I go in, I start going and doing my schooling, and I land a job at a fabrication shop. What should I expect day in and day out for the next or the first few months?
Expect a constant work schedule. You'll know when you're getting on work, what time you're getting off work, so you can schedule your work life balance that way. Um, figure out what you're going to need for tools, whether it's going to be welpers or small, maybe a hammer that you might need, and also learn how to lay down good beads so that you can so that the inspector isn't questioning your skills or your knowledge. And when keep at it for because their main thing is consistency and meeting a quota.
Sure. Is it, in your opinion, is it easier? How do I want to ask this?
Is it easier being a fabricator than an iron worker?
Yeah, I guess it's two parts. I'll ask that question first.
Well, the main issues with being an iron worker or a field welder in a way is you're at the mercy of the weather. And if there's like a tornado, a blizzard, scorching heat that's going on, you've got to prepare for it. And so packing on layers, more on just spending time on laundry, job site may be shut down for 2, 3 days or so,
Hmm.
depending on the situation, and or having to take extra breaks because of the heat in a way, and keeping a consistent hydration. It's that's my main issue with being a field welder. It's a good thing because you're making good money, but you're also taking on more risk.
Sure.
And but when it comes to fabrication, there's some shops out there where you got a little bit of a fan that you can use to cool yourself off. If you meet your quota, then the bosses are usually happy as long as you're meeting the quota. So you'll have a consistency going. You'll have a consistency there. But the only thing is that the pay isn't as good as compared to being in the field,
Fair.
especially when you have your own rig and your own tools and stuff, where you can charge the company whatever it costs for you to be out there.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I was gonna. What in your opinion is the best place to like truly learn like technical welding?
Usually the trade schools are the best way to learn it. But if you kind of need to also know what your situation is, if you can't afford to go to a school, then you're gonna have to probably find a shop that'll let you just be a shop hand, and you're gonna be pushing a broom for a while, or being a being the guy that floats between spots and try to take care of the small knickknacks and stuff. And then maybe if you talk to some old hand or a guy that's willing to teach you, he'll teach you, and then just be willing to take the knowledge in. And it kind of just depends on what works for you and what works for the place you live.
Fair. Did you go to trade school right out of high school?
Yeah, I went to Dodge City Community College for 2 years, and I learned all four welding styles, and learned how to run a cutting and processing. I learned how to read blueprints, learned how to set up a plasma table, run a lathe, a shear, a piranha, run drill presses, the whole shebang, and then making blueprints and stuff for assignments.
That's cool.
Was it
And then I became a teacher's aide during my sophomore year.
Oh wow.
was it pretty career focused, not like a bunch of BS in your experience at the trade school or at the community college?
The one I went to at the time, it was more a career. It was a more career driven because, of course, there was some of the book learning itself. But our instructors that we had, they were licensed CWIs, and they had CWEs under their belts, and the former president of the college at the time, the lead welder, a guy named Justin Wells, one of the most toughest instructors I had, but I respected him, and I loved learning from him a lot more than the other instructors, just because he had a perfection level, because he wanted excellent welds no matter what style it was, in any position, or any way you positioned yourself, that you were laying out good welds. And if he saw any kind of discontinuities, it was an automatic rejection. Even if it was within the parameters, he said, "Nope, do it again,
Hmm.
again." And he expected that out of us, because he wanted us, as soon as we were out of the job, as soon as we were done and out on the field, it was we knew what we were doing to make a good weld, and that jobs would look at us and be like, okay, he knows what he's doing, so we don't have to worry too much about training him, but we can help get him more lined up with something else that has with this job as well.
Right. I was just chatting a couple, maybe it was a couple months ago. One of our iron workers on site was using, I'm drawing a blank on the name. they're using some kind of machine, some kind of welder that they got off of Amazon. It's like a, do you remember the name? I was telling you about
What
it.
color is it?
Was it blue? I think it was blue. It's pretty,
Sure, on a Miller.
I don't know. No, it was some, hold on. Now I got to look for it. It's like a cheap, he said it was very cheap, but he goes, it works awesome. And taking it out into the field where it gets like beat up, he goes, it was, I'm going to have to
Oh,
look
was
for
a
it.
Yes welder?
Yeah, it was a Yes welder. What color are those?
They used to be red, but they turned into a little bit of a light blue
Okay. Yeah,
with red letters
it's
on
the
it.
Yes welder. What are your thoughts on those?
I mean, a lot of small companies, they've really stepped up their game in one way or another. And when it comes to like affordability and versatility, the one machine I've had for the longest time was my Everlast machine, and I used it for, it had a stick, TIG, and a plasma cutter all in one little machine,
Hmm.
and it was less than $600.
Wow.
And I had that machine. I've had that machine for over 7 years, and I've
It's
done some crazy designs for fire pits. I've done a bunch of TIG welding jobs where I was making bumpers for trucks, grills and smokers, and just making the metal art itself. I TIG weld a lot of my artwork pieces because it's easier than hitting it with a stick welding machine and having to buff and wheel out things and clean up the spatter and slag.
right.
But I've met the owner of Everlast, great guy, and I've had some good conversations with him, and I'm actually going to be looking into buying a new machine too because my other one's got 7 years on it. So
Yeah, what's a typical lifespan of a welder, like the machine?
if it's it depends on how much you run it, if and also how well you take care of it. Like if you my machine, I've had it for the 7 years, and I've had to replace 3 circuit boards on it. And luckily, the guy who handles the tech stuff, Jesse McCullough, he's able to usually troubleshoot a machine over the phone, so he can get you squared away with a replacement piece. So,
Hmm.
shouts out to him. And but most welders, they last maybe 3 years, 4 years, depending on how well you treat them, and as long as you're not like abusing the crap out of them, they usually can last a good amount of time.
Sure.
And the generator welders, however, they kind of would last maybe 2 years, 3 years, because it's depending on how much welding you're doing and how much you're not following that duty cycle and everything, and how much you push it past its limitation.
Right.
Mike, do you have any funny stories from the job site that you're willing to share?
Uh,
Anything that comes to mind?
um, I have to say, like, and when you're part of the fabrication stuff, it can be there can be times where the higher ups, they'll come onto the job, they'll come onto your floor and stuff, and they're seeing your production and stuff, and then they're like question like, hey, why aren't you what are you doing, why you're not working? And well, actually, I guess rewind, there's a couple of jobs I was on where the cutting and processing was slow, so they were not cutting my pieces that I needed for a job or a certain piece. And so I would be slow with my production time. So I was stretching out a job. And then when the manager came to my spot, he'd be like, "Hey, Mike, you were making 8, 9, 10 pieces within a workday. Now you're only making two. What's that about?" I'm like, "Well, you see, there's this magical thing called I don't have steel." It's like now I could wish it, and I could maybe do some weird funky voodoo dance if I want to, but that ain't gonna get me nowhere. So unless you get the cutting and processing guys up and running quicker, I'm kind of delayed here at this time. So,
Right.
Right.
and you don't want me doing anything else besides this. So take your pick.
Hmm.
What do you want?
Yeah.
And so, the boss was like, yeah, I guess that would kind of be an issue. I was like, duh.
Yeah. Pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, just quite honestly, I was like, didn't you like, do you not look at what you look around before you say something? Because I mean, you probably could just figure that out. Like, hey, this guy needs more steel. So
hmm Yep.
Yeah, as my mom would say, look with your eyes, not your mouth.
usually it helps.
Yeah.
um, at the we're kind of reaching our time here, but we do like to give our guests an opportunity to kind of just say anything they want at the end of these things. If you want to, give someone a shout out, if you have a message for people that are in the same trade as you, um, uh, piece of advice for any young people thinking about becoming a welder or just joining the blue collar industry in general. We'd like to just give you the stage.
Okay. First off, obviously, do not be a one trick pony. Don't limit yourself to one thing, and try to learn how to work alongside your guys, and try to be two steps ahead so that you're not an issue for your coworkers. Um, Welding is a job that's going to be around for the longest time, and because in one way or another, welding has touched something in one way or another way, and um, just because you don't understand something does not mean that it's not the job for you. You just might have to look at either a different profession, or maybe look at what fits your fancy, and try not to be so uptight about everything, because sometimes your coworkers, they're going to be your best friends, and they're going to end up either helping you out, or if they don't like you, they're not going to help you or waste time with you. So um also, I guess, the as far as like shout outs goes, I'd like to thank a lot of the friends I've made over these last 3 years of doing this social media. I've made great friends from well.com to the Iron Insight podcast, the Art Junkies. I've gotten to meet great friends from different backgrounds, and some of their stories are the most amazing things to hear. And quite honestly, some of them, it's quite a miracle, some of the things that they've dealt with in one way or another. But been an honor and a blessing to hang out with a lot of you at FabTechs and stuff, and after at the after parties and stuff. So thanks to everybody out there.
It's cool.
Is there you want to say what your social media, how people can find you or see your art, or see just kind of follow you if you want to throw that out there?
For my Instagram, go to Big Mike Custom Steel, and for TikTok, it's Big Mike 326. Also, you can see my stuff on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn at any times, and you'll eventually be seeing me go live a lot more, and being able to help educate people if need be, or watch something get made and then make more things for the future. And if you guys want to check out Bokamal FR Clothing, and you can check out the variety we have for sizes, designs, patterns, from shirts to pants to welding caps, and get stuff that's actually affordable and ready to be out in the gas and oil fields, and be comfortable while you're at work. You can use promo code Big Mike for checkout, and get yourself look better on the job site.
Sweet. It's awesome. Well, it was a pleasure, Big Mike, and thank you for opening up and sharing your story. I know that everyone at Ruction Nation is going to enjoy your story, so thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, appreciate it, Mike. We'll look forward to following you and seeing where you go on your social media. So hopefully we can cross paths again someday.
Looking forward to it. Y'all take care.